Rolling Stone.
You know, when I set out to do this video, I kind of was like just memeing on it and was gonna just, honestly, I was thinking about scrapping the video, but after playing this class for a good bit now and just doing multiple 1v1s, a little bit of large scale, some open world, some small scale, and then obviously testing, grinding and whatnot, I have to say that this class is very, very odd for what it is and for the amount of misconceptions that people have about this class is pretty insane. I will say that I've never been a fan of like complaining about a class and then never really understanding why a class is the way it is. And there are some cases where, of course, you will never know why a class is the way it is. And, you know, I'm looking at Sorks realistically when it comes to that because there's clearly a love bias for that class. But I do plan on eventually testing that out and seeing what it's like to be a Sork and why it is the way it is. Because for me, after playing Striker for a while now, I definitely can see the appeal and understand why he is the way he is. But there are some things about him that I dislike and things that I feel like are severely overtuned and make very little sense as to why they exist within his kit. Now, there are a few things that I want to highlight here, okay? First things first, this is not a I'm going to shit all over Striker video. I want to make that clear. This is an analysis of just my perspective on how I feel about the class. Like I said earlier, there are things that I don't agree with, that I don't like, that are involved with this class, but there are also aspects that I'm like, oh, the thing that people are complaining about, they want it removed, but if they do, they're actually hurting the character by quite a bit. The next thing I want to mention is that we're going to go over 1v1s, small scale and large scale, and where he excels at, because believe it or not, he doesn't excel at everything. As most people tend to believe, he actually kind of sucks in some areas, and we'll get into that here in a minute. And the last thing, please, I encourage you to play the class and just sort of do your own bit of research, whether that be going on a trial, 1v1ing for a while, just testing out the PvP, or hell, even maybe you want to tag him with, or actually even seasonal, put some Tuvala gear on him, whatever it is you want to do. I just recommend you play the character yourself and develop your own opinion. Even though I'm going to be giving mine and you guys are going to watch it, I don't want you to base, whether you play or don't play this class off of this video. I want you to test this yourself. There's a reason I did this, and that's because I wanted to see for myself why the class is the way it is and if I even really like it. And to be honest, it's like, I'm in the middle here. I mean, I was so dedicated to figuring this character out and why things are the way they are that I went and bought evasion gear. I have full C9 Eva with this character, Muskins and Libers. I even bought a Pen Cecils and a Centaurs just so I could test out the evasion stuff. And yeah, you know, I went deep with this video. I went real deep. So I encourage you to do, you know, something on the same level here, to do your own research and test your own, you know, strengths and characters and however you want to play this game. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into sort of the meat of the video. So let's open up with the kit and just sort of go over the highlights here. I'm mainly going to talk about Awakening. So if you're, you know, Suck Striker looking for Succession Striker information, this is sort of not the video for you, because I think Suck is actually a bit more difficult to play. I think it's really good in 1v1s, but large scale, I feel like it has no place whatsoever in large scale, like zero. Like, it's far worse in large scale than Awakening, and Awakening's not that great to begin with, to be honest. But in terms of the Awakening kit, I gotta say that for what he does in terms of protections as well as damage output, a lot of it is protected. If you guys don't know, he has like a full protected engage, protected damage drop, and protected disengage. We call this the drive-by combo. And essentially, you spiral cannon with the core skill, of course, because it's super armor, and it also has a knockdown on it, which goes, I wouldn't say through forward guards, but if you angle it just right, which is not hard to do by any degree, you can go around the forward guard and it will cause a knockdown. From here, you do backflip into leg drop, and then from here you go into battle cry, or you can go into Autumn Blaze if you want to, you know, just kind of instantly drop damage, because battle cry can be a bit risque if you're in a multi-scale kind of situation where another grab class can get you. Either which way, from this point, if you do happen to use battle cry, you can just disengage with one of your like shadow steps and you're out of there. Super armor or iframe and you're gone in an instant. You were able to like defensively engage while maintaining defensive damage, while maintaining a perfect disengage with protections. That is very insane to me that he can do that basically every 7 seconds, because all the abilities used are on about the same global timer of about 7 seconds. So as long as you can dance around in protections, which very easy to do, mind you, because he has a lot of lingered protections. So to outstand your 7 seconds window in order to go right back in to do the exact same thing, it's very easy to do. It's a very loopable combo, easy to remember, and also is incredibly safe. I don't know if you guys like understand the level of protections that this character has. You know that thing that everyone complained about Zerkers, where they're like, they're fully protected, they're running everywhere, they got all this damage, and you know, they're all super armor. Mystic and Striker legitimately have the exact same thing. The only difference, I would say, is that they can't input that damage as fast. Zerker right now is a really just, you know, double S tier class with jumping in and just doing a lot of damage and being able to get out as safe as possible. Whereas Strikers and Mystics, they can do the exact same thing but at a slower rate, but their protections are that much more feasible because of the way they build, which is usually with high DP as well as evasion, which allows them to drop damage more safely and linger in those SAs. Zerker, on the other hand, cannot do that, because if he lingers too long, he's going to get blown up due to the fact that he's probably built AP and only has about 361 DP as of the current state of console. We don't really have high DP because most people build AP and they'll run 2 distos, duo Fallen God, and full C9. That will put you at about 305 AP if you have the Pen Crescent from Jatina, and then the DP is about 361. That is sort of the gold star build at this very moment for console, I would say. So when people complain about protected damage and things like that, or that a class is super protected, I want you to know that this has been a thing for a very long time, and you are complaining about a class that essentially had nothing, that had absolutely nothing in comparison to this class that still nobody really is paying much attention to. Hell, if you even look on YouTube, there's not really that many striker videos, including guides as well as PvP montages. It's like the same 3 to 4 people every single however many months apart that they output something. Now with that being said, and it's kind of sounding like it's OP, I do have to say that there are some caveats to that where you can kind of just get destroyed by a lot of things when it comes to super armors, especially when you're fighting, you know, higher tiered players. I'm going to show a clip here, okay? This is a person that has a lot of gear, mind you. This guy is geared out the ass. Like, mind you, I'm geared. I got 401 DP and 293 AP on my striker, okay? I'm geared as shit. This dude blew my back out in less than 5 seconds, okay? And when you're fighting characters or players that have incredible gear score, as well as skill also, you will notice a massive fall off with this character to a large degree. I am by no means a god tier striker. I wouldn't even consider myself good, okay? I just play the class, and because of my build and the way that you know, the striker is built, he's easy to pick up, and I can do things and get away with things a lot more effectively than I can with, like, let's say playing a more squishier assassin-esque class. But as you can see, gear doesn't really matter at a high level. This is 2 geared people fighting each other, and it can go either way. I could kill him or he could kill me, but the fact of the matter is that DP 401, a lot of people will think about that and, you know, just, oh, he's unkillable. He's unkillable. No, I can die. I can die very easily. It just all depends on who's on the sticks and you know, how much gear they got, and that's pretty much all she wrote. Even with my full evasion build, 401 DP, I can die in an instant. This is very, very true, and a lot of people have to learn that DP is not as strong as they think it is, because it is sort of in a state right now where it's not really feasible or viable to stack a DP like that. It really only works on certain classes and only in like scenarios where you're going to be able to put that DP to use, i.e. fighting guilds that are not necessarily as geared as you, not to mention that, you know, small scale, or even RBF where you can actually get some bonus like stats for being on the losing team. Like, there are many scenarios where having high DP is going to effectively make you that much more stronger, but at the end of the day, you can still be killed by the right person on the sticks, and also if they have some decent gear or a build that counters evasion, you most definitely can get clapped up. It's happened multiple times. Here's an example of that where I was testing some damage output here. This is 401 DP, right? And I have my buddy here, he put on an accuracy offhand, and he was 271 AP, I believe. And he was almost able to one combo me with 271 accuracy. And I gotta say, this is actually rather impressive because that AP is relatively low, and being able to almost one combo me out, it's pretty good. Which again, only reinforces my point that DP isn't really something that you should ever focus on as like a main thing, unless you're like a shy or something, of course. Even for me, having seen this multiple times where like my DP has saved me like a million times over, right? It's happened. I've literally, you know, been grabbed up, and I get up from combos quite a bit, and that makes me think that DP is worth it. But again, this is against players that either aren't used to having to use accuracy combos or EVA down combos or DP down combos, etc. These are people that just are used to throwing damage and then blow everybody up. People don't really fight DP memes anymore. There are only select few players that actually still run, you know, hybrid strikers and mystics where they are so tanky they can pretty much get up from anything. It's not a common occurrence. I can't tell you, you know, how many I fought. I only know of them, but I've never really fight them because I'd rather not. So it's actually pretty hard to come across these hybrid players that really build incredibly high evasion in DP. They exist, but by no means are they common, which again is why most people just are used to throwing raw damage, because that's the state of the meta. It's just damage, assassinate. That's what the game is. So when you're challenged with a player that has pretty high DP and evasion, you're not going to know what to do against a character. And that's the number one thing that I got from 1v1ing with like the little montage in the beginning. I can't tell you how many times I clipped it, quite a few times. Here's like a little like background gameplay of that. But I got up from so many combos because they just don't know how to combo me out. They don't know. Like I fought a Zerk, right? I headbutt literally gives you accuracy. Storming Beast, same thing. You have ways to debuff me down to the point where you can still insta kill me. Hell, I even had Angry Darkseid in the BA. He was able to combo me out just fine because he is a good Zerker. He knows how to play the class, and yet this Zerker right here, he's just throwing shit at me. He's just throwing shit at me. It's not gonna work. He could kill me because I know he can. He did one time where like I just got down smashed by whatever move he did, and he killed me. And it was just throwing damage at me, and that again is possible. Whatever his AP was, I don't know, but either which way, I was able to die. But all he had to do to kill me consistently off of every single catch he got, and believe me, he got a lot of catches. All he had to do is headbutt Storming Beast, do the appropriate, buff combos for himself and debuffs for me, and I would have died all the same. Same thing with the Corsair, same thing with the DK. All of them have combos that can kill me, but they're just unaware of it because they've never been put in a situation that makes them have to do things like that. Which brings me back to the kit of the Striker. Even if you happen to catch me, right? Let's talk about that. How can you catch me? Because this is where I have a problem with the class. Basically, the Striker is almost perma SA. Like he's genuinely a perma SA. Rage Hammer, super armor. Mass Destruction, super armor mobility. Twisted Collision, forward guard into 2 super armors. Somersault, unprotected into super armor. You have backflip, super armor. Leg drop, super armor. Spiral cannon, super armor. Battle cry, super armor. The list goes on. The list genuinely goes on. He is perma super armored. You have no short of abilities that will give you some form of protection. But once again, nah. Take out Zerk's like 2 super armors that he had that they didn't even really use all that much. No, it's fine. And again, this is not about the comparison between the two. It's just funny that people will complain about the most prevalent class versus the one that has basically the same thing and in fact is actually better. It's so funny to me that that's how people function. So let's start with the one thing that I think should be changed immediately. Twisted Collision. This is a forward guard into a super armor, and depending on what move you do after, it's no matter what, it's a super armor anyway. Now, inherently this move is not that bad, okay? If it was just protected movement, I'd be okay with that. But this has a CC attached to it, and it is one of the most egregious CCs I have ever seen in the entire history of all the classes that I've played. And I've played quite a few classes, from Mystic to Hash to Zerker to Musa to Striker. I've played Ranger. I've played, well, what else have I played? I played Dracania. I've played a lot of classes. Almost every single one of them I've played. And let me tell you something. There is not a single move in any of the classes that I've played that is more bullshit than this move. And I wouldn't even care if it had a CC on it, right? Like it obviously does, but I wouldn't care about it if it wasn't for the fact that it had the range of a fucking sniper rifle. And also it has like a cone in front of it. If there was one thing that I demand changed, it's this ability. It is actually ridiculous how reliable this catch is, and you will get caught by it in the most bullshit ways because the range is very deceptive. Look at this clip real quick. I caught this man from another planet, okay? He was already away from me. He was out of my line of sight. I still hit him. That is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. And Mystic is the exact same way, mind you. It is the exact same way. And let me remind you, this is a forward guard into super armors, and you can get kills off this shit. You can literally Twisted Collision into the air, dive kick to the side, and then you could go ahead and do a grab into whatever it is you want to do. You could Echo Spirit, you can go Spiral Cannon, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter what you do, but you can kill off this, and that's a huge problem given the fact that the range on this is so deceptive and it's hard to tell where you can get hit by, and sometimes it's just pure bullshit. It's almost unpredictable at this point. It's ridiculous. The next thing that I don't really think it should be a thing, which is going to be Rampaging Predator. This move will lock onto you as long as the crosshair is red. It doesn't even have to be directly on the target. It just has to light up red and it will auto lock directly to the person. And that is a problem. That is a massive problem, that you can literally just auto lock onto someone. And mind you, you can get grabs off this and face drag them into the death. That is bullshit. Actually bullshit. If you're going to give it like a small range teleport, you need to specify what that teleport is, because this thing is janky. It's like a buggy move. Sometimes it'll go super far away, and then there are times where it won't like lock on at all. It is a very, very buggy move and finicky as hell. So not only is it unreliable, but when it does happen to be bullshit, it is actually bullshit. Like, look at how far away I got to this person. They were so far and I just teleported directly to them and face dragged them. What is that? What is that shit? That is ridiculous. Absolutely not. The next two things that I want to talk about is the going around forward guard abilities of the striker. Mass destruction. It moves you through the target, is super armor, and it has a CC on all 3 hits. Same thing for Mystic, mind you. A protected mobility CC. What? Not only can this go around forward guards, but it basically leads to death. Like, you can grab off this, you can aim it in whatever direction you want, you can move in whatever direction you want, you can linger it for an extra like 4 seconds. Not only that, but you can use this as a way to cheese Rampaging Predator. So you linger it and then aim Rampaging Predator. Once you see that, you know, little icon light up red, you go in for Rampaging Predator, face drag, dead. Twisted collision. Another thing that I didn't mention about that is that when you do the dive kick, you can go behind people's forward guards, or you can go around it. You just have to hit them in a small vicinity. It's not even small. It's actually, the AoE on it is quite large. So as long as you land that kick within the vicinity of whatever it is you're doing in terms of a forward guard, you will hit them. You can land directly next to them and it will still count as a knock. And it is absolutely horrible that you can go around that many forward guards as well. Those are the main problems that I have with the kit, but I think that we have overlooked and forgotten the one weakness that the striker has, and that is slows. That is the bane of any striker's existence, is slows. You will not know that until you have played a striker. I did not know that they were so susceptible to being slowed in every fashion because their lack of forward guards, which they only have a few, right? Most of their protections come from super armors, which makes them susceptible to slows. And that means that classes that know that, or players that know that, you know, classes would be like warrior, Zerker, or any other class that has a really obnoxious slow, you can just put that on them and they are going to have that much more of a hard time killing you. They will not be able to one combo you because of how slow they are, especially against a warrior. Warrior slow is absolutely detrimental to the class and they will just get absolutely railed. And that is the one thing that I feel like people are not using a lot of in most striker 1v1s. You're not slowing me. You're not, and I'm not talking about like, you know, movement slow. That's a whole separate thing. You want attack speed slow, because that is what allows them to get around and move. That's their whole thing, is super armored movement and super armored damage. So the longer those animations have to go on for, the more likely you're going to get up from their combo, because they are very combo oriented. There's only a very select few scenarios where you can go in and just insta kill someone, and this is under the assumption that, you know, you're not geared and can't get one-shotted. But in an equal footing matchup, if you slow a striker, they automatically lose. If you still die to a striker with slows on, you fucked up somewhere. Like, you genuinely messed up. And this is their 1v1 weakness. Aside from this, they really don't have a lot of weaknesses other than range classes like, you know, kiters, archers, rangers. These are the classes that will excel against the striker. Even then though, he can actually still close the distance rather easily because of the super armors and the protections that he has. However, I'd say that he has an easier time fighting archer than he does ranger. Ranger, I feel like, is better at kiting and overall can, you know, get a lot of bullshit off, especially with the backflips. The archer just doesn't have the tools, I think, to deal with a striker as effectively, and that backflip can be really nasty, especially if you're really baiting them in. It's so easy to get that backflip off in that CC, and then you're just most likely dead. So I would say his 1v1 potential is broken. It's actually broken. There are very few classes that counter him. If you have slows, that's the one thing that can counter him. But if the striker's aware of the slows and knows how to forward guard whatever ability you would use to slow, he can actually turn this into an opportunity, because unless you're adept, like let's say a warrior versus a striker, right? If he knows that grave digging is the slow, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna S block, and then if they Q block cancel, I'm gonna iframe to the side and then go for a grab. That's just how it's going to go down. If I'm aware of what slows me, I'm going to save a forward guard for it every single time and try and bait it out so that way I can get a cheeky grab off. It's that simple. So even though slows are detrimental, I wouldn't say that they are the key victory for whatever, 1v1 situation you're getting into. It's just a way that if you do land it, you should win. But that doesn't mean the striker is going to be brain dead and let you land it. So now I want to move on kind of just to the small scale, which I'm going to breeze past this because this video's gone on long enough, but I'd say his small scale is rather good. I wouldn't say it's S tier like 1v1s and broken, but I will say that with the right team or just right, people with you in a small scale scenario, he can be the buzzing fly that ruins your entire gameplay. He's not the main star, but he is that supportive character that will make your life hell. You put a striker, a warrior, and a wizard together, that is horrible. That is absolutely the worst thing. You got the warrior with the good movement and big damage. You've got the striker with tankiness and 2 grabs and also a lot of protections. Not to mention, he can also drop damage too. And you got a wizard with heals and PA and so on and all these buffs, etc. You have quite literally one of the most AIDS team comps to fight in all of BDO. Or you pair this with like an archer or ranger, you replace the warrior with that. Now you have a front line, a supportive character, and you also have range DPS that's going to have, peel from the striker. You are going to get shot from out of render distance by one of the range classes. So small scale can be very, very broken in the right scenario with the right team composition, as well as, again, whoever you're fighting also can effectively ruin your time as well. So he gets the job done, is what I guess is what I should say. Now, large scale, this is a bit difficult to talk about. I've seen strikers absolutely decimate large scale, but I've also seen strikers do absolutely fucking nothing. And unfortunately, the latter is the more likely outcome. And it's unfortunate because this is like the only part of the game that really matters at the state of console, because you don't get medals for 1v1s. There's no Arena of Solaire. And yeah, just 1v1s are kind of just not really the ticket, like you don't really get anything out of it. You don't get no clout. You don't get no prizes. There's nothing. There's no real reward for 1v1s. However, large scale, you got siege money, you got node war money, guild payouts for your performance, etc. And that is the content that we have on console for, just PvP in general. And that's where he falls off at heavy. Like I said, there are the strikers that can make him work and do exceptionally well, but there are also the strikers that do nothing, that they physically can't do anything. See, the biggest problem with the striker is that he doesn't have a way to assassinate people. And I know that sounds weird to say when I told you guys that he has a drive-by combo where he protectively engages, kills, and then disengages, but the time frame of how that's done and doing that in a ball of people does not work. It is not something that is feasible. It's not something that is going to work all the time. It's actually very difficult to pull off as well, because if you're surrounded by 13 plus people, one of them is either going to grab you in your long ass animations, and though his animations aren't as long as something like a guardian, they are long enough that you have a window of opportunity to get him on the floor. Not to mention, if you have built sort of DP style, and if you're not as geared as me, because like I said, I'm 401 293, like I'm geared as fuck. I'm literally geared as fuck, and most people don't have that kind of gear. Most people are like, they're running maybe narcs or some shit, or like, sub 281 or barely 281. You're not going to have that assassination potential. you're just going to have like a lot of tankiness to you, and that's what's going to hurt you the most, is that you built tanky and you're kind of this sort of like frontline peeler, and you're just not doing much. You're just kind of sitting in the ball, you know, grabbing the 1s and 2s, trying to put people off your wizards and witches, your casters, your rangers, etc. You're kind of just the peel class. Now, that's if you're on ball. If you put the striker on a flex class, or a flex team, this is where he steps up and becomes far more active, where he's actually doing things. So you have your small flex team going to an enemy base, they're DNXing, they're fighting 1s and 2s, you know, they're taking out the defense team, Ricos are going down, etc. This is where he does exceptionally well. Honestly, if you have a ball striker, you gotta put him on a flex team, or you gotta tell him to re-roll off that class, because it's not gonna work. I've tried it, it's not that fun, and overall his contribution to the team is gonna be minimal. He's not gonna be fragging, he's not gonna really be doing much of anything. He's just going to be kind of sitting there, peeling, and that's all he's gonna be doing. And I feel like at that point, you might as well have him just play a caster or a range class, to where he's at least fragging, getting kills, as well as offering some sort of contribution to the ball, other than just standing there. Because when you say PA dive, believe me, he's gonna PA dive, but what he's gonna get out of that dive is very minimal. So you might as well have him play something that is going to be, you know, able to dive with some sort of effectiveness. And it just kind of sucks, because that's the one thing that really matters right now on console is large scale, and that's where the striker blows at. Like, he is awful. I don't want to say he's awful, but I would put him in like low B tier for large scale. Only really good strikers are going to make him look like he's double S tier. And it's just not fun. It is not fun. It is not fucking fun dealing with that shit. Trust me, I've tried it. It's not fun. So in conclusion, I think the striker is broken in some scenarios. His kit allows him a lot of early access to just an interesting way to play the game, because most classes don't have that easy use kit, and his is so brain dead easy that you pick it up and you're just instantly winning fights. And that's going to teach players to kind of really get into PvP, because they're able to learn super armor, forward guard, protected CC. It's kind of like think of it like this. You know how in Overwatch you got the easy use character, you know, Soldier 76, you know, he's got aimbot, you know, all you got to do is just throw this grenade, do this shit, whatever it is he has. I forgot his abilities, to be honest, but he's just this super easy ability use character. And Striker is the exact same thing. He is the entry level, get into the game. He looks cool, he's fancy, he feels great. All the moves are flashy as hell. And not to mention, he gets results. He can not only 1v1 really effectively, but he can also grind effectively, which means that he can hold a rotation as well as grind extremely well. So this is perfect for new players, because they get involved, they like the character, and now, you know, you're a striker main. But when you get into large scale and all this other stuff, you will start to notice a massive fall off with the character. And that's okay. That's totally normal. Most entry level characters do fall off at high level, and that's totally fine. Aside from that, I would like the things that I mentioned about his kit to be fixed, because it's definitely very egregious and I don't agree with it at all, especially Twisted Collision. That move is total bullshit, and I think should get totally looked at, because it's absolutely ridiculous how broken he can be. Anyway, that's gonna be it for today's video. I'm sure I missed a myriad of things, but for the sake of not making this a 2-hour video, I'm gonna leave it off here. But that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.